I'm Eri. Nice to meet you. And I am talking about social studies. This is like quantified self, but quantified us. So I push the boundaries a little bit to make it not just about an individual, because we already talked about how motivation changes when other people are in the game, and it's the same for me. So when I want to change my behavior, I like to do it with other people. And I'm going to tell you about some of the studies that we did and what we're working on for the future. So, started BioCurious, and I work at Genamera as the community manager. And at both places, we are seeing the power of individual tracking and individual experimentation. And I'm going to kick it off by talking about one experiment in particular that Seth Roberts started, where he presented to us about the effect of butter on cognition. So Seth had found incidentally that eating half a stick of butter every day improved his performance on a math test that he designed. So I heard this. It's interesting, but it might be hard to believe. Right. Butter, we've heard that it's not good for you, but if it improves your brain, then maybe there's some trade-off that we want to explore. I was curious whether this would work for me, because I, just like most people, want to be a little bit smarter, but I was curious if it would work for a larger group. So we started a group study called Buttermind with 45 people for 3 weeks. We did math, and we ate butter, and to test another fat against that, we ate coconut oil, and we had a control group. And it seems like it worked pretty well to do this as a group exercise, 72% retention. And here are the results. And thank you to Seth for actually creating this. So we found that the way to read this is the math test was actually testing how quickly you would respond correctly to a math question. And so if you responded more quickly and were down here, then your performance was improved. We found a significant improvements in the butter group, and no improvement in the coconut oil group or the control group. And this was actually against my expectations. So I had a theory that coconut oil was going to work. I had read before that it showed improvement for Alzheimer's patients. You know, they test them early on where they draw a clock, and those who have the disorder draw it very messily. And after a bout of coconut oil, they're able to draw the clock more accurately. So I actually was expecting that butter wouldn't work.
Was this blind or whatever sensory word you want?
No, it wasn't blind. So there was a way to do it where I could bake cookies with butter or coconut oil and ship them off. It was a little bit too intensive for me. So you did know what you were getting into. I actually put myself in the butter group because I hadn't eaten butter in over 6 years, because I followed the sort of popular advice, or the advice for the average person, that butter causes heart disease, so I didn't eat it. And I've since learned that I probably had way too little fat in my diet in general, and I found an interesting side effect in the butter group, that I was sleeping better. So I didn't notice consciously that I was improving in math, but sleep is a very powerful thing. And that's going to be the remainder of my talk as well. So we talked about placebo effect. I was going in fully expecting that the coconut oil is going to do well, butter, whatever. And I tried this with coconut oil after, and I saw myself doing better on butter. To this day, I don't know why, but I would really like to. So a single question is not good enough. Group studies, sometimes more powerful than individual studies, but it has to start somewhere. And I hope that we're able to continue doing things like this. Seth and I are working on Buttermind too. We hope to start it eventually. We're still trying to work on some stuff with the math test. So what we're looking at is a way of doing self-tracking together. I'm not tracking for you and you're not tracking for me, but we're sharing the data. And we found that in post interviews after Buttermind that people were, excited by what they saw in there. You're taking butter or coconut oil or nothing and taking a math test, and sometimes that's all there is to it when it's just you. But if you've ever undergone a self-experiment or done a clinical trial, you know that more questions come up. Just like I had the side effect that I slept better, people were saying, oh, coconut oil makes me have the runs, or what have you. I mean, you could share your concerns on the wall, and people were coming out to support. So tips and strategies on how to do your studies better. So this really helped me, and I think it's a big part of sharing your data and participating in a single thing together. So studies are for everybody, not just for sick people. I say this because in clinical research, you typically see a disorder being studied, a very popular disorder, diabetes or heart disease. But what about how can I improve my math performance? When do you see that studied? It really comes down to us. And I also hear that in clinical research that recruitment is the hardest part of what they're doing. But it was never hard to recruit me. I was that person who was looking for clinical trials, clinicaltrials.gov. So I knew the address by heart, and I was seeing, what's going on in my area so that I can learn a little bit more about myself. But when I would talk to researchers, I would find out that I couldn't get back my data. I couldn't find out if the results of their research had any effect on me. So I decided not to do it. And looking back, I see that their methods for recruitment are pretty outdated. So posters, newspaper ads, or something that I actually did when I was a student researcher is I tried to offer diet Snapples to students to get them to be part of my study. What's really more effective is just allowing people to be part of what you're doing. I did Buttermind as my first group experiment, so it was a social experiment as much as anything else. And I didn't know if anybody would join. I didn't know if anybody would find it interesting. But just by saying, here, this is what I'm doing, I think it would be really fun if more people joined. A lot of people did. So, the cure for what ails you. And how I introduce myself is tired of coffee. Really, I'm pretty tired. And I am right now too. And there's not much that I can do about it. I've tried coffee, I've tried warm baths, I've tried valerian. So I have a lot of strategies, a lot of old wives' tales that I followed that weren't really helping me. I'm not going to give you the cure to fatigue here, but I'm going to talk about my new method for working on my sleep problems. In the past year, I've undergone this shift in mentality where before I was going to researchers and I was saying, can I be a part of your study? Can I make health insights from your work? I wasn't thinking that I could do it myself. I was always amazed and drawn to Quantified Self because of the insights that I saw people making, and sometimes incidentally. But for some reason, there was this barrier where I wasn't thinking about doing it for myself. But through coming to meetups like this or doing group research online, I've started to think of curiosity as a way to solve problems or to create bodies of research. And so what I'm focused on now is sleep research, because I'm tired of my multiple Starbucks, and I don't have the resources to look for help in the traditional way. So sleep studies are not only unrealistic, they don't mimic real sleep, but they cost thousands of dollars. I didn't have the chance to do it, but I now have a Zeo, and I'm going to use that along with these orange glasses that you saw with Seth and Ben to do Orange You Sleeping. It's a group sleep study where it's my own pet project, trying to sleep better, and I'm working with Michael Nagel, who was the Boston QS organizer, to create this, based on a finding by somebody who presented at their own Science of Sleep meetup. And he found that wearing these orange tinted or blue light blocking glasses 3 hours before bed, he was able to cut his time to fall asleep from 24 minutes to 4 minutes, and he increased his deep sleep, the time during which your body repairs itself in sleep, from 60 minutes to 85 minutes. And I want that. So we're working on creating this group study where all you need is a pair of these glasses. Don't be fooled by the $200 pairs that you see online. The $4 ones on eBay work just as well. You're going to need a Zeo and an internet connection. To join, you can go to bit.ly, Orange You Sleepy. The world is indeed changing. A couple years ago, I would never have thought of doing a sleep study myself. I actually did want to do one of those academic sleep lab things, although I still don't have the means to do it quite. But I think what we're finding is much better. And it's not only a finding of my own that you can do your own research, but it's a challenge to all of you to take your ideas and to create them into new bodies of research in ways that have never been done before. And what you're seeing here is the body bug. So you can use it to track your movement, to lose weight, or the MyBasis. It's a watch that monitors your vitals that you wear on your wrist, obviously. But I'm pretty excited about trying. Somebody's here from there. I'd love to be in your beta. And and then you have I believe it's the Emotive, that has this claim that you can move things with your mind. So it's used in video games, so you can actually move things on the screen without having to touch anything. And it's also being used in biofeedback for those with ADHD. So here's how I turned my curiosity, my desire to improve, into a study. So in a few simple steps, figure out what's important to you. What would you like to change in your health? Ask the question, you design a simple protocol, you invite others to join you, you create research together, analyze, and please share the data. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so we just have time again for one or two questions while Joe sets up. Does anyone have a question for Yes,
What's
Dawn?
the website for anticipating your sleep study? I have Zio. I have everything you need.
Oh, great.
Register the website.
It's bit.ly/orange-u-sleepy.